How's it going, y'all? Welcome to the YouTube channel. Let's talk about a topic that I was thinking about today just to share what my experiences that I've had over the past year. This is probably the hardest year that I've had to go through, but I wanted to, share something that I think a lot of people, and especially men, I think are going through on a daily basis that I think we could actually share some ideas on so we can see if we can keep each other in a position where we're kind of focusing on what we need to do. So um, I have some goals that I wanted to go after, and I just wanted to let you guys know about the sacrifices that I had to make in order to go after those goals. Now, there's a lot of motivational videos out there where people talk about, oh, you have to give up this or you have to give up that. People say, oh, you have to give up relationships. Some people say you have to give up time. You have to give up um, a lot of the luxuries that you're having in life in order to achieve the goals that you want to get. When they say these things, I used to think, oh, maybe there's certain things I got to give up. And, you know, if I give up those things, I won't really have to give up too much. Maybe there's some things I could still enjoy and, have my life the same. But when you're making sacrifices for something that's really worthwhile, something that's going to last a long time, man, you have to give up a whole lot. A whole lot. The things that I gave up to actually achieve what I wanted to get, right? When I got laid off from my job, I decided um, I wanted to become a mechatronics engineer. I didn't come to that goal just out of nowhere. My dad was an engineer. So I decided, you know what? Most people, well, I didn't even base this off of what most people thought. I just looked up to my dad so much that I decided, you know what? I want to become an engineer too. Right? My dad was an electrical engineer. And he's not practicing now, but that's what he started out being. And I thought, you know what? I could probably become an electrical engineer too. Right? So in the past, I took a first attempt at it. I went to university. I failed the first time, like really terribly. I used to be really smart in high school. Used to think that, I would get into university and that would be the same thing. That I would get through math, I would get through a bunch of things and, a bunch of subjects and be able to just ace everything based on the practices that I used to do in the past. And like what was going on in high school is not what was going on in university. Now, I know a lot of people have probably gone through that kind of thing where they were smart in another institution, then they get to another one, and it's like, oh my God, this is a different type of game. We're in the big leagues now. This is where the smartest people on the planet are. So you have to change your mentality. You have to change your work ethic. You have to work 10 times harder. Well, not even 10 times. Sometimes maybe you just need to work twice as hard in order to get to a point where you can at least survive and get the marks that you need to get in order to pass to the next level, right? But when I got to that next level and I had to compete, I failed terribly the first time. In fact, I had to go down a level to Canadian college in order to get an advanced diploma and then try again. When I tried again I failed. I don't know how many people have failed so many times that they started to second guess themselves and felt like, yo, I'm not mentally prepared for this. Maybe I'm not meant to do this for my life. Right? I had that thought multiple times. Right? I took a year off. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to try to just work and see what I could do on the open market, right? See if I could just make some money without going to school and finishing and getting a diploma and getting a degree. I worked at a bakery for a year. And at some point while I was in that bakery, I asked myself, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? There were people there that have been there for 25 years. Imagine being at a certain place for 25 years, doing the same garbage over and over and over again, packaging, baking stuff, and you never use your brain to its full capacity. Just think about that. Some people are okay with that, and I don't knock them for that, but I felt like I could do more with my brain. Like I just can't. This is too mundane of work. You know, they promoted me in that actual place. Like I got a promotion, and I was doing well, man. I was at least joining the union. They were willing to raise my pay higher and give me bigger roles in that bakery, but I was like, this ain't it. I'm not doing this for the rest of my life. So I went back to college, right? At least I went to Canadian college, and I decided to pay my way through. So I paid for my summer courses to get back into the institution that I was at, which was Humber College, actually, during that time. I think it's Polytechnic right now. But I did that to try to make sure that I could at least see if I could complete an electrical engineering diploma program. And I ended up doing really well, actually. I found out that I was able to do calculus at a level that most people in that program weren't even able to do. I graduated with honors in that program. And that, to me, was insane because I never thought I had that in me. But I had to go through adversity to actually see that that part of me existed. Right? So, after I graduated, I went into the job market, the Canadian job market, and I tried to get something. It was so hard. Didn't get anything. Went through call center after call center after call center. You know, I tried to do different jobs. I did general labor jobs. I did whatever I could to survive after doing that. Because what people don't realize is that once you finish college or you finish university, opportunities aren't necessarily going to be there for you. You have to know somebody. You have to make connections. You have to at least have something that you've done in order to present, so an employer can go like, oh, this person could do this person could do that. But without any evidence of that, right, you're pretty much a number to them. So I did odd jobs. I did whatever I could to survive. Right? And then I got to a point where I got a job that wasn't paying me as much as an engineer would get, or even a technologist. But I got something that could pay me enough that I could travel and go back home, which is Uganda. I could go back home and actually try to make a living while I'm over there, and try to see if I could gain some property, do what I could do. Sorry, I'm looking at the clock over here just to make sure that I'm not going over a certain time limit. But once I get my thoughts out, I think I'll stop the video. But Anyway, that's besides the point. What I'm trying to get at is I sacrificed a lot to get where I am right now. And when I was at that digital marketing job, I got to a point where I felt like I had plateaued and there were layoffs coming. And my employer decided that they wanted to cut me off. At that point, I was in Uganda actually. And I said, you know what? Just do it. Lay me off. Let me figure out my life. I'll be okay. And in that moment, after they cut me off and I left the company, I decided, you know what? I'm going to try to go back to school and, well, not even go back to school. I'm just going to try and figure something out that I could do to actually leverage my skills on the market and become a person who could actually earn a lot more. And at least try to go for my dreams as hard as I possibly can. Right? So I was watching a YouTube video where there were these kids at MIT and they were playing with small, tiny robots. Like I'm talking like Ant-Man type of robots. Like these things were so fascinating that I was like, how are they looking at these things in a microscope and they're able to construct these things and they're just robots that are able to do crazy operations, right? And crazy things that they were able to make these little things do. And they were just playing around. I was like, they're having so much fun. I want to do that. I want to do that. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to become a mechatronics engineer. I don't care what it is. I'm going to figure it out. So I went back to school. But the amount of sacrifices I had to make to do that, I mean, I had to. There's something in Canada called EI, if people don't know about it. But EI, they decide not to give you EI if you're going back to school. If you decide to go back to school and you've been working for a certain amount of time, they're not going to give you EI. Imagine a program that you paid into, right? You spent all your time, hours and whatever, every paycheck you were working for at that company, they took a cut of that money, right? And they were saying, oh, you pay us now. We're going to make sure that you're okay while you're looking for another job. These people told me that since you're going back to school, we cannot give you any funding whatsoever. I said, fine, no problem. I'll go back to school. I did. So I went back to school. I figured out, a way to kind of apply for government funding and came back to Thunder Bay. But I gave up an apartment that I had back home. I had to leave that. I had to give up that EI situation. So if I was looking for another job in that digital marketing field, they would have at least funded that. I gave that up. I lost my relationship with my girlfriend. We were actually at a point where we're gonna get at least married and move on in life, but that didn't happen, right? So I decided to give all that up and come back to a place called Thunder Bay and get into Lakehead University in a transfer program in order to become a mechatronics engineer. And that's where I'm at right now. But it's not something that just happened to me. It's a choice I made, and I'm willing to live with that choice. And if you're willing to live with a certain choice in order to achieve your goals, I think it's worthwhile at the end of the day, because how can you live with yourself without making that decision? How can you continue to live your life like that, where you're not, pretty much making that your life's work? I'm willing to give a lot for my life's work. I'm willing to go after my dreams, and I'm willing to sacrifice everything I got just to make something happen, regardless of what I lose. I've missed family reunions. I've forgotten birthdays. There's times that my family had to call me just to see if I was okay, but I said, you know what? I'm just working on what I'm working on. Like, I'll get back to you. And I'm sure things will turn out all right. I wake up every day and I pray that at least I make it to the end of that goal. If you're going through the same thing I'm going through right now and you're going after something, just keep going for it, man. Do not give up. Don't let anything deter you from what you need to do. And eventually you'll get to it. I believe that wholeheartedly. It's always happened in my life that I always got to what I needed to get to when I sacrificed everything I possibly could and let Jesus take the wheel. That's how life is. It's exactly how life is, and I won't believe that it's any other way. People were not willing to sacrifice everything that they possibly can for what they believe in. I don't know how they're living life, but they're not living it to the fullest. Right? So that's just what I wanted to let you guys know today, is that you can make it. You can make something happen. Just give it everything you got. You've only got one life to live. What do you got to lose except that one life? What's more valuable than the one life that you have that you got to lose? Just keep going. Give it everything you got. Do me a favor. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Later.